Hi guys, welcome to JXploit. My name is Jidin, and in today's video we are going to discuss about the injection attacks. The injection attacks is there in the OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities. Before we move on to the video, if you are new to the channel, please subscribe and click on the bell icon to get the latest video updates. Injection attacks. There are a lot of injection attacks out there like LDAP injection, OS command injection, SQL injection, code injection, so on and so forth. So in this video, we are going to discuss one of such injection attacks and how it is carried out. Suppose you own a web application and it has got a username and password field in it. If a user wants to have access to the web application, you should provide a valid credentials. Valid credentials in the sense a username and password. If the input or the credentials provided by the user is valid, then the web application gives access to the user. This is pretty much a common scenario and most of you might know it. But what happens in the backend is that when the user provides the credentials to the web application, it will send a query to the database. A database is a place where all these sort of informations are stored, like the username and password combinations, account details, bank account details, and so on and so forth. So the web application sends the credentials input by the user to the database. Database will process it and return back the result to the web application. So in this case, if the credential information provided by the user is valid, then the web application is going to provide access to the user. Now, the web application, whatever input the web application gives in the database is in the form of language. Most of you might know this. It is one of such language is structured query language or SQL, or sometimes we call it as SQL language. Now, this is pretty much a known scenario, but the things get worsened when the web application is vulnerable to injection attack or SQL injection attack. In that scenario, the web application is going to take the SQL commands directly from the user, and that we will discuss next. Now, let's take the same web application, and in this scenario, the web application is vulnerable to SQL injection. So what a hacker will do is that he will directly inject a SQL query into the username field instead of providing the proper credentials to the web application. Since the web application is vulnerable, it will accept that SQL query as input and send that to the database for processing. The database might think that it is a usual system command and it will process it and returns back the result to the web application. So suppose if the hacker sends a query to fetch all the username and password details stored in the database, then the database will simply process it and sends back the result to the web application. In that way, the hacker gets a complete hands on the username and password details stored in the web application. This is a basic of a SQL injection attack. Now, you might be wondering how to prevent the SQL injection attacks. Let's discuss. By validating the user input. The user input can never be trusted and always considered as an untrusted data. So, by validating the user input, we can prevent the SQL injection attack. Limit the data. Limit the data in the sense, limit the traffic flow from database to the web application. In that way, even if the hacker are successful to run the malicious code in the database, the amount of information that he gets back might be less. Before he actually gets all the information, we can immediately act on it and prevent the SQL injection. Now, the third one is query parameterization. This is another way to prevent SQL injection attacks. In this way, the SQL query will be separated from the parameters. By separating the SQL query from the parameters, you can prevent the SQL injection attack. The query after separation will be sent to the database. Last one is properly build your web application. So before you build your web application, keep all these attack scenarios in your mind and build your web application properly. One another option is to enable the logging in the web server. By enabling the logging in the web server and passing it to some SIM tools, you can narrow down the results and it will help to fight the SQL injection attack. So these are the things that you can do, or these are the best practices that you can do to prevent the SQL injection attack. So that's pretty much from this video, and before we wrap it up, if you are new to the channel, please subscribe and click on the bell icon to get the latest video updates. If you have got any doubts or comments, please feel free to drop your queries in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching the video. Have a great day ahead. Bye bye.